Hi, and welcome to the Bigger, Better, More podcast with Hoku and Emily. We'll be having high vibrational conversations about everything, from where we are to where we're headed. Stay tuned for the full episode.
Hello? Okay, no, I can't hear you at all.
Oh my God, is that better?
There you go. You still sound like
A little bit better than before?
Yeah, no, you sound like you're far away right now. I've got my volume all the way up. Hold on, let me see.
Okay.
Is that better? You're okay
Hello?
right now. It sounds different to me, but I don't know why, and it's okay. Like, it'll be fine.
Okay.
Maybe
it just means I'm here to facilitate, and we will do more of the talking. my lot in this conversation.
In the future, we will explain our desires by what's happening, right? You will say, this is working out for me in this kind of way. This is why this is happening. So you don't want to talk today?
I'm here to facilitate today. I feel like the energy has been so strange. I went out into the world a little bit, and it was just, the weather can't decide what it wants. I don't think anyone else could decide what they wanted. People were going in one direction and then back again. It was very indecisive energy. It was really interesting. It felt like on the brink. And then I had just started the astrology video of the girl that we love. And
right.
I'm only like literally
shout out to Wonder Girl Astrology.
We love her. Love you, Wonder Girl. Oh, Brittany, you're so awesome. Please tell me her name's Brittany. It's Brittany.
It is. Right? It is. Yes. I can't remember her last name, but it's Wonder Girl Astrology.
Her.
Yes.
She is awesome.
What did she say? I saw that she posted, but I didn't listen to it as of yet.
Okay, I'm only a minute and a half in, so I'm not that far. But she...
That's all right.
The title is A Drastically Different Perspective.
Right.
So, I feel like, again, there's something... clearly there's a shift going on, and it just feels like it's an undercurrent, at least here in New York. New York is... I don't know what it is today. I don't know. It doesn't know either. How's Maui?
It's so funny because I don't know if you saw what I sent you right before we called, but I just sent you, because I always check the live.
What did you send me?
Well, I'm going to go to the beach later on, so I always check the live feeds just to see where the beach is good or what the waves are doing or that type of thing. So I sent you a clip of a live feed from the beach where I'm going to go. So, and I was just like, this is where I am. I know where you are. So it's like, but anyway.
I love that. I love that we're virtually together.
I know. Well, and I was going to say, I don't know what the world is like here yet. So still early.
Honestly, probably for the best.
Well,
people are still figuring it out.
I am very much getting called to stay in my own bubble and to be the expansion of my own energy in that bubble. It's kind of like, it's okay. It's funny because I always... It's such a weird thing to be in for coming out of the pandemic, and I feel like I'm isolating again. And it's like, but I feel like I'm isolating on purpose. And it's, the thing, one of the things that happened to me because I've had depression in my past, it's like I have these, markers that I like check myself on when it's not happening. And when I isolate, I have to check. I have to say, am I isolating because I want to go in, or am I isolating because I want to get away? And it's like, that's important for me now because I don't want to be getting away from anything, right? That's not forward movement. So, But I was looking at that and I'm like, no, I really just feel called to really fortify my own stuff right now and get clear in myself because I still, and we've talked about it, we have some of our old stuff popping up and that's, normal and appropriate because we want to clear the old stuff and sometimes we have to, see it and release it to do that. But I just feel like there's, I want to say a next level clarity. And I guess that's what she's saying is there's, there's and it doesn't, I feel like it's what we already know, but it's expanded and clearer. I watched an old video interview of mine from, gosh, I don't even know how many years ago. It was probably like 4 or 5 years ago that I had done. And I just, one of the things I noticed is, even from my guidance then to guidance now, they're so much more precise. Like I said words in that interview that I would never say now because I don't talk that way. And I realized it because I was saying like what we need to do. And I'm like, I never say we need to do anything because that's not the truth. The opportunity is to do something in a different way. We don't need to do anything. Like it's really, shifted to be more like having this clearer, kind of, knowing what you're saying in a very precise kind of way. And I realize that's evolved. But I think for like next level expansion, it's probably going to be that kind of thing and more because we're getting so many clarities at the next level of being. And, a lot of them are kind of the internal knowing connected spaces in a bigger way because that is our guidance system to the new. That is how we're aligning with things and choosing what we want in the world or what's, kind of in alignment with us in the world.
Well, and it's funny how, it's funny how much whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression or anxiety, I don't know why that word came up, but whether it's depression or anxiety, or spirituality, right, in general, it all comes down to this word of discernment, is what it seems like. That's what we've been talking about, is discernment, right? Right. Discerning whether you're pulling away or going in, discerning whether you're moving forward or like whatever that is. Can we talk more about that?
I would say discernment also comes out of consciousness because you have to be aware of something to have a discernment in the first place, right? And you have to be oriented to that thing because, I think back, to my earlier years. It's like I wasn't available for anything, I wasn't oriented towards what I'm oriented now to, and I wasn't open to it as much. So I feel like, the more we become conscious, the more we start aligning with our true selves, then the more, it's funny because it's like my guides are saying it's really, spiritual discipline. And spiritual discipline for my guidance has always been choosing into what's in alignment with you, aka also known as what feels good, and letting go of what doesn't and not choosing it, not choosing against ourselves, not choosing the bad things, because that's the discernment of the spiritual discipline, is having the discernment to know which is which. But again, that comes from consciousness. Like you have to know, oh, I'm doing a thing that doesn't feel good, and let that. The weird thing is that, part of the problem of us being in the mundane world is we just got used to it being not good. I have a job I hate. Right. I have a relationship I don't like. Yep. I don't feel loved or taken care of. And like, that was just our plight. Like, that's just it. That's the way it is. Yep. And it's like, we need to know there's better than that. We need to know that, we can actually not only love, but love immensely. Like we can love ourselves, we can love other people, we can love everything. It can be our environment, but we don't think of that like that. And I think that's, again, I feel like we talked about this another time where it's like, this is part of why we're talking, is to open up the new space of the new potential that we're already, walking towards, right? It's like we're already having that forward movement to it because we can see it ahead of us. But that's the thing. I mean, the whole message of all of this is you get to create your life and what you have and what you choose, even if you're choosing by default, which means you're not choosing, you're just giving what's given to you. You know, and I know people are not in circumstances that they feel empowered, but that's the opportunity, is to know there's another place to be about things. It doesn't require you to be okay with the rest of the world in a way that diminishes you, or, you know, that will also bring in more love and more fulfillment, you know?
Right. And
I feel like I went to a different place with that because you started with discernment and I went to, you know, this new space. But the truth is that why are you using discernment if not to get to a better space, right? But I feel like part of discernment, I feel like part of the discernment is the acknowledgement of what you really want in your life as a fulfillment, as a feeling space. Because I think we've been kind of guided into, you know, money's important and you should look good and all of these things that are, you know, not bad or wrong, but it's like none of those are more important than who you are or having your own personal fulfillment or expression in the world. So it's like, you know, we want to realign our values into that. And that's the discernment part, because it's like you need to know what's what. And, you know, for the most part, you know, at least when I was kind of more unconscious, so when I was in the kind of, you know, disconnected state, I did not have access to this. And it's like, I feel like anybody listening to us would actually already have like this knowing opening up. But that's the thing, is like you have to start making a path in what is good for you and what's not. You know, it's just not in any other way in life. We would not do this. We would not say, okay, I'm going to eat half McDonald's and half salads, you know, and not judging McDonald's, but, you know, it's like, you don't do that. You don't do half okay and half good, or like I can let myself suffer all this time, but I really want to have a good time on the weekends. And it's like, but are you doing that if you're not having a good time your whole life? You know what I mean? It's like we need to have wellness. You know, we're talking about also having higher standards for yourself, and not from something to strive for, as something you desire to be and have and not allow in your life. You know, it's like we have to start like drawing a line somewhere, but it should be, to me, standards are like a wall, you know, you must be this tall to ride this ride. You know, you have to be a certain, you know, up to a certain level, instead of a boundary that you have to guard or keep or hold. You know, it's like, that sounds like way too much work. I mean, people say, you know, put your boundaries up, and I get the concept of it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's something we have to like enforce all the time. And I think that's part of what kept me on guard earlier when I was dealing with more, you know, fear of the world kind of stuff. And it's like, I'd rather have a standard that says I only align with what aligns with me at an energetic level. And that's, you know, and it's funny, they're kind of laughing at me for asking for that. That's always what happens. You align with what aligns with you at an energetic level. You can't do anything else.
Right.
But if your life keeps going poorly in a way that you don't want, there's an opportunity to notice that and say, okay, I don't want these things anymore. What part of this is making me feel bad? Where is this landing on me? What part can I let go of? What part can I choose again? You know? Again, I've gotten off track, but but it's kind
well, no, because this all has to do with discernment. But
right.
Also, I want to say that discernment is not, so discernment by definition is the ability to judge well. But we are not talking about discernment in the old way of judging, right? This is discernment.
Well, discernment as in alignment with your true self. You know, it's kind of the clarifying aspect. The, you know. It's funny because they're saying it's the part that's spiritual discipline. The only, you know, they keep showing me this. It's like, it's always, if you could realize what feels good and what feels bad and stop doing the stuff that feels bad and move only into what feels good, you would have a different life, because you would only ever be choosing what feels good, and your life would soon be filled with what feels good instead of what feels bad. We just don't do that. And it's like, it
No, we
really
don't think
sounds
that's an
super
option.
obvious, but it's like we are so hooked into the construct of how things should be. Well, I should have these friends, or I should be polite, or I should have this job, or we should all over ourselves. And it's unnecessary. It's like, what do you want? What do you want to fulfill it? What do you want to do? Start, like, we don't even think, I don't even recall as a kid anybody really even saying, like, endeavoring with me of the possibilities of life. I remember as a teenager, I wanted to be an adult. I wanted to be an adult so I didn't have to have adults around me, like my parents. I didn't want to have,
Right.
I wanted to be free. And it's like, I didn't want
Yeah.
specifically anything in front of me except freedom. And my guys are laughing. They're like, we could do that too. We could just have freedom ahead of us and let that be the field, because that's part of the field: freedom, love, and unlimited nature. That's where we're creating our new worlds in. That's the new landscape. But that's the opportunity, is to walk it forward. And if you don't know the difference, it's like, okay, so you're going to eat mud and then you're going to eat a salad, like, and you're not going to know the difference. Like, that's a problem, because you're never going to get the results you want if you keep, that's a weird example, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's the discernment. It's like, is this good for me or not? But that causes you to go into your true being, into your body, into your, connected spaces, into your heart, into your solar plexus, into your gut. That's where your divine being is, emanating from, because your brain is going to tell you should do something, like shoulding again. It's like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to say, because that's the old construct that keeps the world the same. And we don't want to have the same anymore. It's not good enough. No offense, world. Can't do it anymore. It's not. And until people start moving in the direction we want to go, it's like, that creates more opportunity as we do it. And we do it energetically first, but it really helps if you stop running over yourself. And it really helps to let go of the fear and the judgment and the limitation. And it really helps to think better of yourselves than I'm bad and wrong. Those are all kind of the illusions that we're letting go of. That sense of separateness, that sense of, I have to be a certain way. It's like, no, the opportunity is to be who you are, because that's the gift and that's the rightness. And you're, it's funny. We talked about, like, I don't like the idea of worthiness. It's like, if you have to make yourself worthy of love, it's like you might feel like you can't have love. And in that, you won't allow love, even though when there's an abundance. And it's like, we don't want to go on that path. It's like, you are a divine being based in love and eternal. It's like, we have such a poor concept of ourselves in so many ways. And it's like, you're not that bad. Guess what? It's like, what if you were actually right and good? And what if what you had to bring to the world was a gift for the world and a gift for yourself? Like, most of us never give ourselves the time to do that, or the space, or say it's okay. We endeavor to do what we were told to do. At least I did, go start a business. That's a good thing to do. Okay, I'll do that, and it's like, that wasn't a bad thing. You don't really ever get off your path, because all of my experiences in the mundane world of kind of moving through the ranks of, how you're supposed to be, really taught me a lot about how I want to be and don't want to be. That's the opportunity in every experience.
Right.
Does this work for me or not? And if it doesn't, what is it telling me? And I think we've been taught so much to think something that doesn't work out is a bad thing. And it's like, but it's not. It's telling you lots of information. The contrast, what doesn't work out tells you a lot of more information sometimes than when it does work out. It's like, okay, what is this telling me?
Totally.
This doesn't align with me. This is not what I want. This isn't, there must, and when something doesn't work out, like when you don't get the job you think you wanted or whatever, it's like, there's always another opportunity. And that's the thing, is to move swiftly from, okay, that's not it, to there's another opportunity coming. Because otherwise we get like, then we make up stories. Oh, I didn't get the job and I'm bad and wrong and I don't have the skills and I'll never get a job and I feel terrible and I'm just going to stay here. It's like, what? I would never leave anybody there. I wouldn't leave my worst enemy there.
Right.
Well, they're saying that's not true. Because I want full disclosure here, because what they're showing me is I let people work through their stuff all the time. That's part of this. Like, I can't go.
You can't do the stuff
exactly.
for someone else. You just can't.
Right. Exactly. It's like we can be the demonstrations for it. We can, talk about it. We can, point the way. But it's like everybody's got to make their own choices and have their own experiences. As well, they should. This is the adventure we've come in for, is to have an earthly experience in a new way. And we're all every single one of us having our own individual, what is that book you say? Choose your own adventure book, right? It's like, we're doing that. Now, most of us, half of our lives is kind of given to us. But then even in that, we know what aligns with us and what doesn't. We just don't adhere to it when we're young. You know what you don't agree with your parents about. You just don't fight it when you're young because you know you have to survive them. But it's like, and some people just adhere and say, okay, well, I'm going to defer to you. And it's like, but at some point you've got to defer to yourself. And that's what we're talking about, is that's the discernment. Am I in alignment with myself? Does this feel best? Does this feel right? Does this feel true? Does this feel clear? Or am I just doing what I think I'm supposed to do? I want to X out think I'm supposed to, as well as should.
Well, yeah, and spiritual discipline is also not a have to. Like, we think of discipline in the old sense too. I'm just wanting to redefine and clarify that discipline itself is not
it's a get to.
Be spiritually disciplined. It's a get to.
Well,
absolutely.
The spiritual
the
the discipline that it takes is to look at it. But that's why I think it's humorous, because it's like,
right.
If you don't notice when you feel good and when you feel bad, that to me is like fundamental beingness. Like, why are you not paying attention to yourself? Because that's frightening. People run over themselves all day long and they pretend it's okay. And I'm like, that's not okay. Like, why do we think that's okay?
Right.
What is it? I love Veronica Torres and the Elohim. Her first rule is you got to be nice to yourself. Like, what is this for if you're just going to beat yourself up? I get we've been beat up in the world. I get people have treated us bad. Like, I get it. But we don't have to carry that torch forward. Douse that guy and, choose to be divine instead. Sorry. That's a weird analogy.
But also, one other clarification, too. You said, eating McDonald's or fast food and then a salad. If the salad's good and the McDonald's is good, great. It's more about if the salad isn't something you want, then don't, that's not the point. You're not trying, or I guess it was the other way, right? It was, if the fast food makes you feel bad, don't do it, or something like that.
Well,
but I just wanted to clarify,
the idea,
it's more about the enjoyment.
It's so funny because food is such a weird analogy too, because we've got so much judgment on it as and I was using it as an example of, judgment as this is good and this is bad. The truth is it's not.
Right.
It gets you what it gets you. You probably don't want to eat 100% of one or the other. Life is about having, all kinds of experiences. And we're, even when we talk about moving forward, it doesn't mean you never have a bad experience. You don't want to, extricate yourself from living. It's like, guess what? People, are going to die. People, you're going to have a car accident. You're going to have a flat tire. You're going to have, whatever. But it's not about that. It's about knowing who you are in the context of it and moving through it in that kind of way. It's like, but most of us are running around in a system that doesn't serve us, and it's not big enough for it, and it's not good enough for us. And I mean not good enough for us in that we're not being happy, joyous, fulfilled, and expressing our, true beingness. And I know not everybody's up to that, but I feel like we don't realize what level we can do that to now. And I guess that's why we're talking, because it's like we're, opening up this space. We're walking it forward. It's so funny. I feel like I'm being a little bossy about this. I don't care. The world is going to do what it does, but the opportunity present for me and what I talk with
Yeah.
you about is about creating lives we love and living in the light of our true being and creating a space that we live in that's based in love and freedom and unlimited being, because we are. And I get that's some kind of new concept for people, but it's like, you know, I'm going to pose it like as if it's a question. I don't look at it like a question, but, what if we were more than we ever thought we were instead of less than we are? Because we know that. We already know we think, poorly of ourselves. It's like, I'm trying to think. It's like we're talking about, just, in how you treat yourself versus how you treat other people. I had told you I saw that video clip of a guy that said, if I treated other people like I've been treating myself, I wouldn't have any friends. Because we're mean to ourselves. And
Yeah.
again, Veronica
Right.
says, or the Elohim, I guess it is, says you got to be nice to yourself. That means the potential of loving ourselves. But that in itself can be a turnaround for some people. Because, like I grew up just feeling like I wasn't good enough. Like I wasn't, I was a burden. I was not worth what they spent on, keeping me alive. So that was quite a deficit to come from, and to realize it's like, oh, wait a second,
Right.
I'm not that person. That was, oh God, I wrote down a quote yesterday. I was watching something. Oh, I know what it was. It was this girl singer, and she said, I'm not only the worst things that happened to me. I can't remember what it was. I should look it up. I'm so sorry.
Wait a second. Please tell me, is this from the America's Got Talent?
Yes! I literally wrote down what she
Did we watch the same
said.
video? Oh my gosh.
Did you
I
watch
watched it
it?
this morning.
I nearly
She's a
sent
friend
it
of
to
a friend
you.
of mine.
I nearly sent it to you yesterday because for a couple of reasons. Because she kind of, to me, represents what I talk to you about, your spirit coming through when you sing. That's why I wanted you to see her. But she also,
Yeah.
because it's so, and for the audience, what we're talking about is, I was saying, it's not about the voice, it's about what comes through. Lots of people have great voices. If you don't let your soul shine through, that's the part that gets people. And she was kind of the shining demonstration for that. She just it was all of her soul just kind of inviting you to
She really
dance
was.
around. It was
made me
really
cry.
beautiful.
I was so moved. Yeah.
But she actually had a
I can find
couple
it,
of
I can
quotes.
find it.
Do you remember what I'm saying?
Yes. She said I'm more than just the bad things. I think it was what you said. It's more than just the bad things that happen
Here,
to
I
me.
did write it down.
This is funny.
I am more
Thank you,
than the
Chief.
bad things that happened to me, is what she said. And I was just like, so, I just were like, amen. Like, we're not that. Because sometimes I've felt that way. It's like with all the abuse and all the things, that I feel like I've been through. And it's like, I'm not that. I'm not the things that happen to me. I am who I am, The other thing I love that she said, as long as we're on the topic, I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's America's
I
Got
love
Talent,
that we both saw this video.
summer of
It's
21. The girl who has
Nightbird
cancer that sings. Oh, Nightbird, yeah.
Nightbird with an E at the end.
She said you can't wait until life isn't hard anymore to decide to be happy.
Oh God, did you see Simon tear up at that moment?
Oh,
too?
I know.
That was
Well, that's
so
where
good.
I mean, I knew that I think it's so funny because he's been such a tough guy throughout the years. And it's like, I think since he had his son, he's softened up quite a bit. But yeah, no, I could see it. I was like, I was, my vagus nerve was like going off because I was like, I'm sure I teared up by that point as well. But he never does that. And you could just tell he was like trying to hold it together. And I'm like, don't. This is the opportunity. Like, we all need to let our our feelings, fill us up, and that's what that does. It just wells up so much that you can't ignore it. That you have to like and it relates us to one another. You have empathy for her and love for her, and you get it. You want to share in that. You want to hold the space. Sorry, I'm getting teary just thinking of it.
It's so good.
Well, I love that you saw it. It was like 12:30,
so
and I was
funny.
watching it, and I
Yeah.
literally had it in there, and I'm like, I'm not going to send this to her, like blank, because I want to talk to her about it. So, but I'm so glad you saw it.
Yeah, so perfect. Yep. It's so meant to be. See, but this is also the synchronicities happening all over the place, I gotta say.
Right.
Things are lining up.
Well, and I do love that people are showing up in that clear kind of way. I see people speaking their truth and being powerful. Like, to me, she was just, I want to say, she took her position, She was holding her space for, this is my perspective, and I'm, I want to have a good perspective. Because why not? Right? It's like I could sink into this and be just depressed and upset, or I could go for it, And I feel like we're all in the it's time to go for it mode, Like, what are we waiting for? There's not a thing. Well, I shouldn't say it. We've been moving a long time.
Yeah, but what are we waiting for?
Well, we're not. But I think, what we have been doing is clearing, which is, ultimately necessary to get clear enough to even start aligning with the bigger energies. Well, not even aligning with the bigger energies, because, they've been talking about the bigger energies coming in and, already being present, but almost it's kind of like, they've been using the analogy of like, putting the stores of tanks of joy and energy for everything that we are about to do or will need to do in our lives. So it's like, but it's kind of more of this filling up, allowing yourself to be expansive, allowing yourself to coalesce with the new energies and with the rest of the all that is. Like, we're really kind of realigning with our natural selves that are powerful and divine and connected, versus the old way of I'm me and I have to strive and struggle and plot and plan and figure it out and make it happen. Like, we're not doing that anymore. It's like we're choosing and allowing.
I was just going to say, right, it's what are we waiting for, but it's also not making things happen. It's both. It's what are we waiting for, right, but it's allowing things to happen.
Right. Yeah. Well, and but that's part of what there is to let go of. Again, if we keep struggling and striving, how are we going to know the magic of the universe coming through? It's like part of this is opening up and finding those aligned spaces and letting the alignments lead the way, and not having, I think you and I have both had challenges with this where we felt like we needed to be productive all the time. I had that monkey on my back. I still do sometimes. It's like, you should do something. It's like, rather than you should take care of yourself. Not because we should anyway. It's like, what's the opportunity here? What feels best here? What would be the best thing to take care of myself now? But that's where I feel like most people aren't asking themselves that question at all during the day. They wait until they're, blown out and at the edge.
And I hate to say it, I'm literally taking cold care medication right now because I did that to myself. Here I am.
Well,
I have a cold. And it's okay because I have a cold and it's going to move through. But it took me getting a cold to go grocery shopping. That's insane.
Aww.
Like,
see?
So.
Life will help you out if you're not doing the right thing. Well, and I think Louise Hay says a cold is too much going on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I could totally be wrong. Now I'm going to have to look it up
check.
just because I said so. I know, I'm like, the Battle of the Louise Hay's book. We love the Louise Hay Heal Your Body book. It's the mental causes for physical illness and the metaphysical way to overcome them. So it has what they say is the kind of cause, so to speak, in a metaphysical way, and then the affirmation to support it. But
yeah, You were right. Cold, upper respiratory. Too much going on at once. Mental confusion, disorder, small hurt. And then it says, I allow my mind I allow my mind to relax and be at peace. Clarity and harmony are within around me. All is well.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I also remind you and anybody else who's thinking, sometimes we have runny noses and stuff like that because we have inner crying too. That's one of the other things she has in the book is, because if you don't let your emotions out, they want to come out anyway. So sometimes they come out like that. But that's what I'm saying, and we talked about this before. It's like, if you don't, there's nothing wrong with having an emotional blowout, but if you don't want to have an emotional blowout, then, you check yourself every day and you do what you need to do to take care of yourself every day. And again, I think there are people who do this because I think there's kind of this new advent of kind of self-care come out, but I think it's a little bit, it feels like self-care sometimes turns into another job. And it's like, we don't want that. That's not self-care. Putting another thing to do on the list is not that. But it's like, what would really serve me? What would be the thing I would do if I didn't have to do anything else? Do that. What is it? Take a nap, eat a sandwich, go for a walk, call a friend. Like, what would you really want to do instead? Because we usually say, oh, now I should go do yoga. And it's like, if it's a should, don't do it. If it's, ooh, I get to do yoga and I love it and I feel great about it, then good. But it's like, that's they're swinging it back around for you. That's the discernment we're talking about. Do you even know? And I want you to know, when I first started out, I didn't even know what I wanted. I didn't know what I liked. I was so oriented towards what I was told to, what would be successful, what would be right for me, what would, all the should I should do things. And it's like, as soon as I let go of that, I'm like, wait a second, I don't even know what I'm fulfilled by anymore, because all I did was orient myself towards goals other people made. And now all of a sudden, what is that? I remember pretty early on, they had me write a list of, things that made me happy, because I didn't have go-to places to be happy. I worked. Like, that's what, the good thing is I like to work, but, that's kind of how I filled in all the spaces rather than looking at myself, because I didn't want to look at myself, because I thought, what was reflected back to me was not good. I was bad and wrong. I was a burden. I was, not worth whatever. And it's like all of those things were, misunderstandings, but that's what I had to look at when I stopped. So I didn't want to stop. But what I didn't realize is those weren't true, and that I was actually another person underneath all of those layers of judgment. And that's the opportunity, is to find out who you are under those layers of who you thought you should be, and really being who you are. What does that look like? And I know a lot of people are kind of, already there with it. Like, they know there's a there. But that's the opportunity then, is to keep washing consciousness through, keep bringing energy through, keep orienting toward what feels good, what feels good, what feels good. And that seems like a singular pursuit in a, like, let me eat candy all day, but you don't really, like, at this level, people don't do that. Like, you don't, like, I remember thinking initially, like, people would get lazy, or people would be like, well, I don't care, I don't want to do anything then. And it's like, but that's a response to being overwhelmed in the mundane. When you really let yourself be free, there are things that will call you forward, and that's what we're talking about. Emily?
Oh my God. Hello. I'm really having my butt kicked by Mercury. Can you hear me now?
Yes. What, did the mic go out?
Everything went out. I haven't heard you for the last 3 minutes. I'm sure everything you said was brilliant. I didn't hear you, or like a minute and a half. I don't know what I missed.
Oh, we love Mercury retrograde. Well,
yes,
I couldn't tell. I couldn't repeat everything I just said, but maybe that's an okay thing.
That's okay. I think that's okay. I will listen back to this too, but I'm glad that whoever is listening got a chance to hear.
And I want to say, you know, this just brings up a good point and opportunity to say it's like, let's have grace with ourselves about this. Like we had
Yeah.
technology issues during Mercury retrograde. Oh my
Right.
goodness. Oh my goodness. It's like, but you know what? Let's have grace. It's like that happened. Reality is, I think I think I've told you this. It's like, this is why I want to do this podcast, to be real, to have a conversation and not be all
I
polished and
know.
proper and, we're letting it fly and kind of, just seeing what opens up. And to me, like, that's exciting. I'd rather do that than churn over the what is, because,
Amen.
it's not that exciting anymore. What's exciting is what's possible now. That's exciting to me, anyway.
The new now. What's coming, what's here, but what's coming is very exciting. Oh my gosh, well, yay us. I feel like this might be a good spot to wrap.
I know, it's like, since you managed to disconnect ahead of time. Absolutely. Well, I think it is. I think we got
I don't know what's going on.
A good energy churn up going on there.
We moved it.
Yeah.
We moved it forward. And yes, thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties and the cold, but it is all part of it. It's fine.
All is
Here
well.
we are having a conversation. All is well.
All right. Thank you.
Yay.
All right.